confuse it. We are not condemning Charlottesville. The people of Charlottesville are a victim in this as well. We're not condemning them. These people just descended on Charlottesville and chose, because that's where it was.
Because at one point in time, all of us lived in Columbia. All of us lived in Columbia, South Carolina at one point in time. If you don't know, so we have the right to speak and we empathize with the situation. So we have our Confederates riding down the street and the whole flag issue. So you guys should know about that too. So
actually, the one thing I will say about Charlottesville, specifically Charlottesville PD, and I speak for myself, not for other members of the Firing Squad podcast that may agree or disagree, but I feel as though the police department was somewhat complicit in it because I feel as though they didn't do what they should have done to prepare themselves for it.
Oh, I agree.
No, them fools said today, I mean, they actually came out today, the chief. First of all, Mr. Chief, just go ahead and cut the rest of your hair off, bro.
Yeah, cut that last little patch, that little bang that you have.
Yeah, bro. Because you distracted me. I can't even take your serious message seriously.
It ain't coming back.
Because you got that little patch on top of your bald head. But anywho.
How you got a soul patch on the top of your head?
But no, they said today.
No, it's right in the front too, right on his hair. It's enough for the barber to trim up and edge him up. Go ahead, line me up right there.
No, this is what the police said today, that they had to actually go back and put on protective gear because they weren't prepared for it.
Man, they so damn garbage.
But I don't know. I mean, I think about it, but then I think deeper. I guess me and Ham be the ones on the conspiracy theories at times, but you can't tell me that they don't have any operating white supremacists within that police department.
Right. It's the same reason why you never see Peter Parker and Spider-Man in the same location.
Right. You can't do both at the same time. You can't do both.
Yeah, it's like when y'all saw the video when everybody was pushing up against the police and they weren't doing anything. That shows you right there that the police don't want to harm these people because they're probably down with these people.
Right.
Right.
And see, the other theory was, go ahead, Love.
And part of white privilege, y'all gonna hear this a lot on this podcast, so just get used to it, is that the automatic assumption that white people are innocent and have their motives their motives are legitimate for whatever they do. Like you see, Ham, good intentions. Like, I mean, just look at the scene from Ferguson and look at the scene from Charlottesville. How the cops and the SWAT team and everybody were out in Ferguson ready to fuck up black people who were peacefully protesting, who didn't come out there with guns, who didn't come out there and freaking Call of Duty gear or whatever, coming out to peacefully protest in a tragic and unjust situation, and were handled completely different. So, I mean, for people to sit there and act like nothing is happening and that there's nothing wrong, just look at those two situations and tell me what was different in those two situations.
So I'll tell you what was different. Number one, too, because when you know you're damn guilty, you know some shit about to pop off. So that's why they were prepared in Ferguson. I mean, another reason, and they did the same thing to the Indians on the pipeline too, right?
Yeah.
So they had
they did.
spraying rubber.
It was sub-zero temperatures, and they were shooting water at them,
hosing them down and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, the worst you're gonna get with black protests is that we're gonna break into your shit, but typically it's gonna be like convenience. It's like stuff that you need.
Right. But here's my problem is this: the other issue that they were talking about that someone mentioned to the actual police chief today, they actually asked them if they were intimidated, because what really pisses me off is the fact I understand Virginia is an open carry state, but they asked them whether or not the police was actually were they intimidated by the size of the weapons and firearms that the white nationalists, KKK, and all those
the
racists had, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Call them Nazis, man.
The terrorists.
What the terrorists
domestic
had.
terrorists.
Yeah. Or just terrorists. Yeah.
Not whatever you want to call it.
There was a world war where everybody joined up to fight against Nazis.
The Nazis,
right?
Yes.
Right.
And we have them,
literally,
and now we have them stomping around these cities, these towns, and being protected all of a sudden. Just because free speech gives you the right to say whatever you want. That doesn't give you the right to be free of repercussions for what you say and do.
Exactly. You know, I had one of my white friends on Facebook, shout out to Tracy Cohen Massey, everybody else putting like, oh, my condolences, blah, 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 this is messed up, we got to stop the hate. She posts some damn bitch-ass article titled, "No, if you didn't understand, this is what really happened in Charlottesville." No, I was like, man, nobody want to read that bullshit propaganda you trying to push, you know what I'm saying?
But
that's
the spin.
Trump apologist.
That's the spin that they do, though, and that's the part that I'm very glad to see the images that are coming from Charlottesville. The fact that the images portraying wasn't like a whole bunch of black people, it was a lot of white people. Like, when you look at it, it was kind of, sometimes it was hard to tell which side was which because they were really going in. And it was, a lot of white people going in against it, which that's needed. And to all our Caucasian listeners, I always say, we always say the best thing you can do is not be silent. Don't sit back and just act like, don't try to be an apologist. Don't be silent. Actually speak up, speak out, and actually do something.
So how about this?
Right. Just like Lao said, World War was like everybody against the Nazis. So it's like reminiscent of that whole sentiment. Because, you got all these, white people hate Nazis. Like, for the most part, and it's sad it took this for y'all to, like, step up. But, I mean, whatever.
How is the Nazi flag illegal in Germany and banned, but they fly it here?
Right. Because Americans is like this. It's like if it's not happening directly to us, it's not that bad. Just like you don't hear about 320 people dying in Sierra Leone because of the floods. You don't hear about like all those genocides in Africa and stuff. Like the Nazi Germany, that shit happened over there. So even if it's people's descendants, it didn't happen on American soil. So we really don't care like that.
But at least Germany has showed like embarrassment for their history. Like, that's not something they're proud of. Like, they're actually embarrassed by it and doing everything they can to, like, eradicate it from their history. You know what I'm saying? So, like, as our generations continue to go, you have to read about it in the history books because there's no visible proof of it. Whereas with us, you can go, especially in the South, anywhere and find a Confederate monument or a museum.
Right. Yep.
It makes no sense.
Directly to the powers that be.
And the thing is, too,
we lack empathy.
And the thing is, too, is when we say that our white friends and white people need to get involved, that doesn't necessarily mean you got to be on the front lines marching. But what you do need to do is that you need to let your friends, your coworkers, your family who make these insensitive remarks or maybe out here spewing this racist hate, alt-right Nazi bullshit, you need to check your people. Like that's where it starts. It starts with you guys telling them that it's not okay. Because they're going to be affected by you because you're someone that's close to them. They're not affected by us sitting here, somebody they don't know, complaining and saying this isn't right, this is that, or whatnot. It's got to come from people that's close to you.
Every domestic terrorist situation, you always hear, in retrospect, after the deed has been done, family member, close friends be like, I saw on their web browser, they used to always look up such and such, and they used to always look this up. Like, bitch, that was your time to step in and say something.
Yeah, the dude's mama said that.
It's your fucking fault. They always say that.
But here's the thing, though.
Browser, hobbies.
Tell me if you disagree.
Building roofs.
Because we do it too, right? To an extent, right? Where we have some of our own who do certain deeds. You're like, we wouldn't do it, but I'm kind of glad it's getting done, right? I think that's the same way with some of these white trash. Right. Honestly, it's what put Trump. It's what put Trump in the office, where they're not going to raise their hand and put a bumper sticker on their car and like, we pro Trump, but low key they like what's going on because
because if you don't speak out against it, you're enabling it.
But I think they low key like it though. No, they like, okay, like I'm not going to get out there and march and look redneck, but I'm glad that they doing it because I feel threatened.
Mm-hmm. Some of them definitely sitting on their couches, sipping on their Cabernet, loving it.
Yep.
And
I think it's a lot more than we think.
And agreeing with
and reminiscing about days of past.
And that's the thing that's scary is that now you don't know who's you going to work. I mean, percentages just tell, I'm an accountant. I work in numbers. Percentages say that somebody in your office is probably one of these people or follows this ideology. Just the sheer numbers going to put it that way, that somebody that you interact with regularly is probably on this bullshit. And that's the scary thing, is that at least the guys like David Duke and whatever that's saying all this bullshit, like, your mask is off. Like, we know who you are. But these people that still out here hiding in plain sight, those are the scary ones. Because you don't know what the fuck they're gonna do or when they're gonna do something.
No, those are the same ones that went. Those are the same ones that went in the booth on election day and cast that ballot for Trump.
Man, let me tell y'all what. I know I said this on the thread though, but like for my job, sometimes I got to go door to door, like for the pest control company, right? Man, my worst interactions are on houses that have the American flag hanging out. Not the good old boy Dukes of Hazzard flag, whatever that shit is, the Confederate flag. I'm talking about the good old U.S. of A. Worst interactions, worst people, worst vibe ever. Now it's not all of them, but I just stopped going to them. You know what I'm saying? And that's like the where we living in right now. It's just like a cover up. It's a big-time cover up there.
It is. I've actually seen more regular flags flying.
Let Rob get in there.
I'm about to say, Ham, you down there in Charleston, though, where they still got the streets named after Confederate generals and stuff, man. So it's not but racism down in Charleston. That's why I left.
Right.
Yeah,
because they like, yeah, you looking for a new neighborhood? I'm like, yeah, me and my wife renting a house that's out here now. We looking for. They're like, well, most of this is just for people like you guys should move in this neighborhood. I'm like, oh, what's it called? It's like Westcott Plantation. I'm like, fuck you. I'm like, I don't care how nice the house is. I'm not living in a plantation.
Yep.
No, nothing. Reserve. No shit that sound like no slave quarters. I don't care how nice the neighborhood is, but that's like, sorry.
Yeah. I ain't putting my house on somewhere where potentially my ancestors was picking cotton.
Right. Rule number one.
The thing is the crazy thing too is that these so-called patriots. First of all, y'all are upset at minorities and stuff over these Confederate figures. When first of all, you fought that war against other white people. Like, I mean, let's not like you weren't. I mean, why are you mad? Why are you pissed off at us? Y'all, majority of these wars that they're all wrapped up in and obsessed over, it's white people against white people. White people are the most savage people that have walked the earth. They pillaged, took whatever they wanted.
Hands down.
I mean, and have throughout history have been proponents of war or all of this stuff. Exactly.
Yep.
And when we got our freedom, we fought beside them.
I mean, on both sides.
Like my grandfather was one of the most. He was so proud of being a war veteran, and my granddad raised in the South, so he went through actual real oppression, racism,
right,
and put that all aside to go fight for his I'm doing air quote, his country, alongside these people that now act like, oh, like black people weren't fighting in World War II, weren't black people in Vietnam, these
black people in Civil War.
Yeah, wasn't black people fighting in Civil War? We was fighting against them then. I guess why they was mad.
They was on both sides.
They're mad. Yeah, they were on both sides.
It was coons back then.
Black people to fight.
Oh yeah.
No, they wasn't no coons if they got forced to though. Like,
they got forced to, but some actually like their surroundings, like what was going on.
Man,
always had been.
So much misplaced hate and angst and anger.
Yeah,
it's the public school system plays a big part in the atmosphere we're in right now.
Because you know what people say,
public school system in this skewed history.
Well, people say that like we have, they always point to Chicago, wherever you see black on black violence. But I would argue, if you put anybody in certain situations, period, they're going to react. It's a survival thing, right? and it's why
it's like
no
a
matter
social experiment with 2 rats.
Two rats, but it doesn't matter what. There's poor countries